Fraud is as old as human history, and for some reason these stories always capture our attention, but none of us ever want to fall victim to it. Today, we're diving into the story of a man who did fall victim to fraud, but turned his loss into an extraordinary tale of determination. This is the incredible story of how a Texas farmer took down the country's largest fraud network. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe. It's worth it. Now, let's meet our main character, James Franklin Norfleet. Born on February 23, 1865, in Texas, James grew up on a ranch near San Angelo. He worked as a cowboy to make a living, and at the age of 20, married Matey Eliza Hudgens. Together, they lived a quiet, ordinary life on their farm. But in 1919, a trip to Dallas to purchase new land introduced James to a group of con artists that would change his life forever. Norfleet was approached by a man claiming to be a land broker. This man led him to a group of scammers, headed by a man named Joe Fury. The group pitched Norfleet a fake stock investment opportunity, and he fell for it. Convinced he was about to make a fortune, Norfleet emptied his bank account, handing over somewhere between $45,000 and $75,000, a staggering amount back then, equivalent to roughly $800,000 to $1 million today. A few days later, when he received a package filled with newspaper clippings wrapped around a handful of real bills, he realized he had been scammed. Joe Fury and his gang had swindled hundreds of people with their schemes. Most victims were too ashamed to report the crime and quietly accepted their losses. But Norfleet wasn't like most people. He went to the police, only to be told there wasn't much they could do. That's when he decided, well then, I'll go after them myself. Thus began a nationwide manhunt. Norfleet started by tracking down other victims and enlisting their help. Meanwhile, his wife took over all the work on their farm, so Norfleet could fully dedicate himself to the chase. He traveled across the country, following the trail of the con artists. In San Francisco, he and another victim managed to track down one of the scammers and turn him over to the police. But rather than face a long prison sentence, the man chose to take his own life. Norfleet kept going. He followed another con artist all the way to Montana, captured him, tied him up like cattle, and dragged him through muddy roads to the local jail. He didn't stop there. To track down Joe Fury and his right-hand man, W.B. Spencer, Norfleet traveled not only across the U.S., but also to England, Canada, and Mexico. His relentless pursuit finally paid off when he found Fury in Florida. After a fight in a cafe, Norfleet subdued Fury and personally escorted him back to Texas to face justice. As for Spencer, Norfleet followed him to Montreal, Canada, and chased him through the streets. Although Spencer managed to escape after a scuffle, Norfleet eventually caught him in Utah. Realizing he couldn't outrun Norfleet's determination, Spencer surrendered. Over the next few years, Norfleet continued his hunt, crisscrossing the U.S. and even tracking down scammers in places like Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, and Georgia. Along the way, he captured multiple members of the gang, many of whom were so terrified of him that they voluntarily turned themselves in. After traveling over 30,000 miles and dedicating 5 years of his life to this mission, Norfleet dismantled the country's largest fraud network. He recovered a portion of the stolen money, but more importantly, he brought the criminals to justice. So, what happened to Norfleet after this extraordinary journey? He became a national hero. His story was featured in newspapers and magazines across the country, and in 1924, he published a memoir to share his experience with the world. James Franklin Norfleet's story is a testament to what sheer determination can achieve. Most people in his position would have accepted their loss and moved on quietly, but Norfleet turned his pain into purpose, transforming an ordinary life into an extraordinary tale. Life is an opportunity to write your own story. Will it be a simple narrative, or will it become an inspiring epic? The choice is yours.